bringing me a fresh cup.
Awesome, hubby.
Hello, hubby.
So,
The hubster. Well, this is how I got started. So I was in a life transition, and I'll talk about this for everybody who joins the presentation, but I was a newly single mom. I was getting divorced. I didn't have a job, and I had done admin work back in the dark ages when they called it secretaries. I could type like nobody's business, and I love to figure stuff out. Like, that is my superpower. And so I temped a little bit, and I realized that the temp agency was taking part of the money that I could make, but they were proving that I could make more money because someone else was willing to pay that, right? And so I just started telling everybody I knew, and I was a little relentless about it. And my first client I got at the school bus stop, because I just said, hey, the dads were there in the morning, and I told them what I was doing. And one of the dads said, oh my gosh, I just started a new business. I would love to help you. Have you help me? He already knew me and trusted me. And his wife was like, please, can you get someone to help you? Because she had a job and 3 kids, and she's doing whatever it is. So that was my first client. And the second client I got in the food line of a wedding. I'm still with him. We're doing an event on Friday. And so what happened was I just started to build up and figure out the systems. And my background is in business operations. I had titles like business manager, operations manager, project manager. So I was always really fascinated by the business of business. And so I created a VA business that was supported by that. And that's what I teach people now, not how to set up a cart in Shopify. I could teach them that, but it's really how to build a solid business and grow it, have a steady stream of clients, be charging the right amount so that you can make a living. So I'm still a full-time VA. I have, many, many clients, and then I teach as well. And I love it.
Delegate. Awesome. When you say delegate, is delegate and outsource the same in your books? I'm sure we'll learn that soon.
So delegate is like giving someone the work, and reverse delegating is what you have to do to make sure you have what you need so that you can be successful at that work. Because what we're going to talk about is people are not good at delegating. It's shocking how bad they can be, and I'm going to tell you some funny stories.
We're looking very forward to it. I'm going to actually bring Karen up now to introduce you.
Yep.
All right,
Karen, can you come up back and introduce our lovely guest?
Please come back, Karen.
Now, how can I share my screen? I want to make sure I'm on.
Okay, you should have screen share permission. So everybody's on the panelist should have screen share permission.
Belinda, have you used Zoom before?
I do. Yeah. I have. Yeah, I got it. All right. I just haven't used this format before. Usually it's just me and, my peeps.
Exactly.
So, Karen,
are we ready?
Karen, just discuss how you know Belinda and your relationship and kind of what you see about Belinda. Just come from the heart. We're not like, Belinda will surely do her own introduction, but we just wanted the introduction from the heart. From, Karen has called you into this, so let's.
Well, actually, I'm going to say I've known of Belinda for probably at least 2 years, and I was sitting here today thinking, where did I get introduced to her? And I believe it was through a SCORE meeting, if I'm not mistaken. I think I was sitting in on a SCORE webinar, and I believe Belinda was the speaker. Now, I may be wrong, but I think that's what, and I listened to this woman and I thought, wow, she is where I would love to be. And I related so much to her background and the things she had gone through that I thought, I'm going to follow her just to kind of see where she's going. And it's been amazing. I mean, I'm so excited to have the privilege of introducing her to you all. I'm going to go into a little bit of her bio because that does it more justice than I could. She's a business workflow and productivity expert with 25 years of experience. She is the founder of Rocket Girls Solutions, which is just this amazing program that she's put together. She focuses on helping VAs in particular, but it really, I feel it could really apply to freelancers as well. Um, she is also the founder of the VA Connection, which is a professional online community. And her main goal is educating and connecting VAs around the world. And honestly, when we say around the world, I know, Mark, this is a global conference. Belinda is global as well. And you'll see some of the attendees are from her program, and they're from all over. Like she said, she's from Connecticut, which was another thing that I thought was pretty cool because she's not that far from me. And now she is a sought after speaker on a myriad of subjects: small business growth, business technology, brand communication, and development. And I know she had spoken for SCORE. I don't know if she still does. She can probably cover that later. But she's been quoted in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, Reader's Digest. She has a BA from the University of Virginia. So that's another connection with Marie. Like she said, she lives in Connecticut with her daughter, Emily, and her bio says her extremely significant other, which we now know is her new husband.
That's right.
And she spends free time, like she said, gardening, raising the backyard chickens, and learning how to cook. But again, what I can say is that she gives her members daily tips and tricks that will benefit everyone. And I believe quite a bit of the attendees in our group today are from her membership. And I know they feel the same about her. So we're going to have her links put up during the presentation in the chat. So if you don't already know her, please grab those links and go check her out. Now, without further ado, I'll turn it over to Belinda Wasser-Sandor. We welcome you to the Freelancer Symposium, and we're really excited to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh,
yeah, it's great to be here. I've been looking forward to this for such a long time, and I do speak for SCORE a lot. In fact, I'm speaking for them next month, and my favorite topic is being a virtual assistant for you, because so many people, and when I say virtual assistant, let's just say slash, hashtag slash freelancer, because I think there's so much crossover, and my world is virtual assistants. But according to Seth Godin, we're all freelancers, right? So it all kind of comes together. But I love speaking for SCORE, and they're just a wonderful organization. So I'm glad that that's how we connected. That's really great. All right, so I'm going to share my screen and get organized here a little bit. So today we're going to talk about reverse delegation, and what reverse delegation is. So here's how this works. You go and you meet with a potential client or a client, and they know that there's benefits to working with a VA. They know that there's benefits to working with a freelancer. They know that they're overwhelmed. They need expertise that they don't have. But it's sort of like, they don't teach you how to balance your checkbook in school, and they don't teach you how to delegate. And so what happens is you're both standing there wanting this relationship to be very successful. But unless one of you leans in, and what I'm going to teach you is how to have you be the one that leans in, it's difficult for the relationship to be successful. And what happens is there's miscommunications, there's deadlines that are missed, there's disappointment, and there's also reduced opportunity because you're not able to take that relationship all the way and support them, and often the relationship ends. So today I'm going to talk about specifically how to meet your clients where they are so that your relationship can be successful. And clients are in a lot of different places. And I have to say, it still surprises me. I mean, yesterday I had the worst case of delegation that I've had in such a long time. And I had to really think, okay, just take a minute, you know what to do. And it was just so interesting that it was, the same week that I'm here with you. So I want to tell you a little bit about me beyond the bio, and maybe the more personal story. So this is me 11 years ago with, I call her my little delish, my daughter, Emily. She's 9 years old in the picture. And this is when I started my VA business. And I was in what I would call like a do-over situation. So I was a newly single mom. I'm almost 50 years old. I'm starting over. We needed to move. I needed to find a good school system. And I didn't have a job. And I was going to be in charge of supporting us. There was no, revenue stream from anywhere. And so I had to figure out what I was going to do. And I didn't want, I wanted to be with Emily. I wanted to build my life around the moments that were important to me. So I wanted to build my life around being at the bus stop. I wanted to build my life around being a Girl Scout leader. I wanted to build my life around being able to pick Emily up from school when she didn't feel well without having to discuss it with anybody, without having to feel bad, or without having to try to figure out how I was going to still make that meeting, when this was the case for me. So I didn't want to go back to corporate. I wanted to have control over my day. So I started doing admin work. I'd been a secretary like in the dark ages when people called us that. I like to figure stuff out. And I temped a little bit just to get my feet wet to see if I liked it. And what the temp work proved to me was that I could charge more than I thought because people were paying the temp agency. So if I would go direct to the client and not have that middle piece, I could make more money. So reverse delegation. Oh, and so I want to tell you that the first year went really well. And I just told everyone I knew, and I started to build a steady stream of work. And if you were on a few minutes early, you know that the first client I got, I found at the bus stop just by telling, the dads. And I didn't even know that this dad had started a new business. The next client that I found was in the food line of a wedding. And, I connected with them on LinkedIn and I pursued the relationship, not in a salesy way, but I thought he was kind of a cool person. And I wanted to talk to him about my business. The second year that I was in business, I figured out how to make $100,000 a year on my own as a virtual assistant in a nook in my house. And from that point on, for the next 10 years, I was able to do that. There were many things that I think contributed to my success as a virtual assistant, but reverse delegation is really at the center because, like I mentioned, it's meeting your clients where they are. It's taking the time to understand where they are. It's investing in their success and creating a relationship based on them having confidence in you, which I think is really critical. So here's where I am today. So we were just talking about how I just got married. I got married in August, and this is my newly blended family. We have 5 kids between us, which is crazy. There's Emily, all grown up. She's 20 years old now, sitting next to me, and then all those boys in those blue shirts. So I was able to come out of the debt and the struggle and the moves and really settle myself down. And at the core of that was taking control of my life, taking control of who I worked with, taking control of my day. So I've been, like I said, I've been doing this for 11 years. I've worked with over 225 clients and I've made well over $1 million. And that surprised me when I thought about that. $100,000 a year plus times 10 years, I've actually been in business 11 years, is over $1 million. And that I was able to do that helping people in a way that I love in my house in yoga pants and a t-shirt, it still amazes me. It still amazes me. So I want you to know that, you can do this too from wherever you are, definitely from wherever you are. Okay. So let's talk about what reverse delegation is. I came up with this term, and someone might have coined the phrase before me, but I came up with it when I was trying to figure out how to work with my clients, because so many of them are terrible delegators. They leave out the details. This is my least favorite. They'll send me an email. They don't even use complete sentences. I have no idea what they're talking about. And it's not like I just met with them last week or yesterday, or they just texted me. They are out of the blue. And it takes some work to figure out what they mean. And I knew that I had to figure this out, because if I didn't, the opposite of reverse delegation is the client feels unheard. The client doesn't get the work done. We don't feel successful. We don't feel a part of their team. So unless we figured out how to lean into it, the relationship falls apart. So when it first started to happen, I have to admit, and I've seen a lot of this happen with a lot of VAs, they get mad. Like, what the heck? If they respected me, if they were being thoughtful or kind, they wouldn't just throw this stuff at me. And I'm going to talk about this a little later, but I had one client, when she delegated to me, when she asked me to do something, I felt like she was flinging it out of the car window into my driveway while she was driving by. Like, that's what it felt like to me. But there was a disconnect. And I thought, okay, when I look at who these people are, I like them. I respect them. They're thoughtful, they're kind. So if all of those things are in place, there's no reason for them to not communicate well that I could come up with, because not only is it annoying for me, but it costs them more money because I get paid by the hour. So if I'm scratching my head and trying to figure it out and go back and forth a million times in an email, it's just costing them money. So it's not doing anyone any good, right? So reverse delegation is going in after it. So first, what I want to talk about is, what is delegation? So to delegate is I got this off of Google, to entrust a task or responsibility to another person, which is pretty vague itself. So I'm not surprised that this is such an area that people fall into on a regular basis. So I'm going to read to you the definition that I came up with for reverse delegation. So it's the process of getting all the details you need and a complete understanding of the project when working with a client. And I put that on my shoulders. I definitely put that on my shoulders. So it's part of my responsibility to get all the details that I need and completely understand the project. The way that I sort of settle with that in my mind is that being a virtual assistant or a freelancer, it's a service profession. I am in service to the client. I'm in service to the client. Now, what I don't mean I'm working 24/7. I don't mean that they text me and I drop and roll. I don't mean any of that. But what I mean is that our job is to provide service, to help them to be able to get, reach their goals and to get to where they want to go. And good VAs have a superpower called "I'll figure it out," and "I've got this." And if you have the ability to do that, this is just one step of that, to become a sort of a detective. And I have to say that when we do reverse delegation from a place of being generous and wanting to provide that service, clients never leave you. They never leave you because they feel like you've got their back. You're not just trying to, bill a bunch of hours and, sort of ring the bell on the cash register. And so in order for this to work, we do need to accept that most people are bad at delegating. And I didn't want to do that for a long time. And I still feel myself, like yesterday, my client really just flung this email at me, which even worse, she sent me 5 emails. I had to figure out what the heck she was talking about. She sent me a logo. I didn't really know where it went. It was like that. And the thing is that my first response is, really, is this what we're going to do? And then I just think about who she is as a person, who I like. She is a good client for me. And I just sort of calm down and I think, okay, how can I help her create this email newsletter that she can be proud of with the pieces that she's given me? What questions do I need to ask her? How do I need to speak to her to get to the result we both want, which is she has a product that she's proud of. I have a product that I'm proud of, and our relationship is better, because that's really what I'm doing. That's really what I'm thinking about. Okay. All right, so I want to talk a little bit, I want to talk specifically about what happens when we don't reverse delegate, because the cost is high. It's even higher than the client, because losing the client, because if you think about how many hours we spend working, and we think about when we figure out a solution to work well and not be stressed and help people and provide, the product that they want and the work that we want to do, that's so much nicer. So there is a big sort of surrender piece to this. And I can't really stress that enough. And maybe it's because it took me a long time to surrender to it. I just kind of felt like it's their job to tell me what I need. Like, what the heck, why am I chasing them? And so that, coming from that generous place really helped with that. Okay, so when we don't reverse delegate, the biggest thing is that we have miscommunication. So you can, fill in the blanks for that. We don't really know what the deadlines are. We don't know, we don't know exactly what's expected. And if I could, I would read you these emails that I got for this client. Nothing made sense. I had to open up the documents, really scratch my head, try to channel her for a few minutes, because what I don't want to do is just react and send a bunch of questions that she's not going to know the answers to because she's confused. She doesn't really understand how the newsletter is laid out, even though it's hers. She doesn't know what's a picture and what's text and what I can change and what I can't change. So I have to be, really clear about that. So deadlines are a big one. Very often when people delegate, they don't tell us the deadline. I would say 9.9 times out of 10. And that can create stress on both parts. On my part, I tend to, depending on the client, I tend to think, oh my gosh, they need it right away, because I have that pleaser personality that a lot of us have. So I instantly think, oh, what am I going to do? I have all this other stuff to do. That's happened so many times that what I've learned to do, hit reply. Thank you for the work. I always say thank you. Thank you is the first word in every email I send when I'm responding to a client, and it's the last word. Thank you for your email. Thank you for the work. Thank you for the project. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Really big. And then, I'll ask, when do you need this by? And they'll tell me, and sometimes they don't need it for 2 weeks. And I think, oh, I can do this tomorrow, no problem. But without having the knowledge of when they need it, it just creates a lot of issues. Now, I have a client, Martha. To Martha, when she says no rush, she really means like no rush. She means like, don't forget, next week is fine. I have another client, no rush means, can I have it today, but just not right this minute. So it's important to understand what they're talking about. And the only way that you can know is to ask them. A big part of reverse delegation is just asking questions. And we're going to talk about how to do that, because it's scary when you don't know the answers and you don't want to be exposed, especially when you're first starting out. Okay. Disappointment. How many, I wish I could see your beautiful faces, but I think all of you could probably raise your hand if you've heard a story about a freelancer or a virtual assistant who has let somebody down. They disappeared, or they this, or they that, or they didn't get it. And I think it's because they were afraid to be exposed. And we're going to talk about that more and ask the questions. There have been phone calls that I've been on where I just remember being so panicked that I couldn't even ask the questions because I was just trying to protect myself from them thinking I didn't know anything. And so a lot of reverse delegation, it'll build your confidence, which is a great thing because confidence helps us be more successful, right? So disappointment for sure. And frustration. Frustration is a big one. People are afraid to delegate because a huge component of it is trust. They have to know that you've got them. They have to know that you're not going to drop the ball. They have to know that you're not going to do something in front of their client that's going to embarrass them. They're going to, they have to trust you. And it would be nice for people to lead with trust, but people don't always do that. And people have been burned, right? And they don't understand how to put the safeguards in so that the delegation happens well. Like, here's an example. The emails that I got yesterday about this email newsletter that were all over the place. One of the emails was, you're not going to send the email out before I see it, right? And so I realized, okay, we're really starting at the top here. And what I said to him was, I will never send a newsletter out without your final okay. And that's for two reasons. One, it's my responsibility to produce the best result I can, but it's his responsibility to read the words. I'm not providing the words, and to make sure that he's saying what he wants to say. Grammar is not a superpower of mine. I'm very transparent about that. And so I will never just send anything. And so once he knew that, that calmed him down, and he started to understand my process. So that's important as well. And the other thing that happens is we miss opportunities because if people, I find that when I outsource to other people, the faster they are and the more communicative they are, the more I trust them, the more I give them. And it's interesting because I had, so in the VA Connection, we have contests. They're really fun. And we had one recently, and there was like all these prizes. And one of the winners was in Australia, which is kind of cool. So I had to figure out, how am I going to get this physical book to Australia, And so the woman that was helping me, she didn't just order the book, she said, hey, the book that you want to give, this woman who won it, I figured out how to get it in Australia, but the book that's $15 in the US is going to be $33.75 in Australia. She didn't just take what I said and just do it. She realized that I was making a decision on sending her the book based on the information that I knew, which was that it's about $15. The fact that she asked me that question, I wanted to fly across the country and kiss her. I was like, thank you for having me. Thank you for getting that what I asked you didn't turn out to be the way we thought it would be. And for asking me that question. So, it just really helps a lot. And I have to tell you, when she did that, my level of trust went way up. It went way up. And I've given her a ton more work as a result of that. So missed opportunities. The other thing I have to do is I'm very impatient, mostly with myself. I want to get things really fast. I want to move through them. And one of the gifts that I've learned to give my clients, especially those, I have clients who, this is kind of funny until it happens to you and you're in a hurry, says, where's that file? And I say, it's probably on your hard drive. Ready? How do I get to my hard drive? And then I realize I just, because my clients are different ages. Most of them, they tend to be over 50 and I'm over 50, but they don't all know where their hard drive is. And a lot of them are entrepreneurs who have had admins outside their doors for years, and now they're consultants and they don't actually know where their hard drive is. So what I have to realize is, in those moments, I need to take a breath. I need to drop into the zone, and I really need to listen to them. And I also have a tendency to interrupt people, which is not a superpower. That's actually something I'd like to fix or be better at. But I have to really let them talk so that they feel heard, so that I can give them the answer. So that's a big piece of reverse delegation too, is being patient and just realizing this can go one of two ways. Either I can bulldoze through them, or I can give both of us the gift of working together, and I like my clients. So I would have lunch with all of them, on a regular basis. They're lovely, smart people. But to be able to listen to them, and it's not the first thing that comes to mind. The first thing that comes to mind is, let's solve this, let's move on, I have another meeting, which, so that's why I've gotten used to what that feeling is, so that when I have it, I can say, that's not how we're going to handle this. We're going to be patient, and I'm going to slow down my talking because I talk really fast, and I'm going to listen to what this is, and then we're going to do this together. So that is another way that you can really help. When things are confusing, or they start to get out of control, like this whole newsletter thing got pretty out of control before I realized it. Part of it was a client missed one of the emails that was explaining the issue, but I just whipped out a Loom video, and I it showed them, this is an image, this is what I need, it's 600 pixels, we need to replace this. I pulled in the graphic, this is the graphic that needs to go into it. This is the silver bar I'm talking about. Because what I find is in extreme cases, what will happen is they won't process the information that I give them. They'll answer one question, but not all of them. And that's what I would consider out of control, meaning they're overwhelmed, they're overloaded, they have no idea what I'm talking about, and they're not happy. And they're not happy with me, they're just frustrated and they're trying to get their work done. And they just want this newsletter to go out. They already wrote it. What's the problem? So that's what happens. Okay. So there's something that people do a lot, and I see this, and this actually happened today. I was talking to somebody in the VA connection, and her husband got this special truck driving certification. I don't know anything about truck driving certification, but she's whipping all these acronyms around, and I just let it go. But I was kind of curious, but when I asked, she kind of answered me the same way again. So you want to be careful, when someone asks you a question and you answer it and then they don't really get it, you want to try to think about, okay, what could be going on here that's making it so that they don't understand. So definitely I have clients, international clients in Switzerland and the UK and Canada and all over the US and Costa Rica. And the way that things happen in different parts of the world is different. And so that's why you have to ask questions. And this is an example that I thought was pretty funny. There's two examples. If you are in Alabama or the South and you say, hey, I want a Coke, the person who is in the restaurant will say, what kind? And the answer might be Pepsi. Okay, because a Coke is a drink, it's a Coke, right? Now, if you are where I live, you say, I'd like, what kind of soda do you have? And they'll say Coke, Pepsi, Mountain Dew, whatever. If you're in the Midwest, they call it pop. Now, if someone comes in and I don't know this, and we're talking about their business, and they say, I want a pop, pop is what my dad used to call his father. Okay, so you can see how that could get very confusing. So that's why we need to be patient and we need to ask questions. And here's something funny that happened to me when I was young. I went over to England and I ordered, how did that go? I ordered an English muffin. What I got was, no, wait, she said English or American? English muffin to me is like an oval, you slice it in half, and a muffin is like a bread bomb or like a cake bomb. And so even something as simple as a muffin, and I'm seeing a Chesterfield, a sofa, and a couch. I'm seeing that in the chat, and a settee, right? So you guys totally get it. So don't assume what's obvious, okay? You want to consider their age and their background. So one of the things with this client that I had yesterday for the email newsletter, I don't know how old he is, but he's probably pretty close to 70. This is, a business he's had for a long time. And he wanted to, back in the day when you did print newsletters, you would say editor, and there were lots of details that you wouldn't use these days. So I had to come up with a way to talk about, I had to come up with a way to explain how that's changed without making him feel like he doesn't know what he's doing. This is a very accomplished man. He just happens to not know how newsletters work. So I said, that's really something we did in the print world. And I think it might be dating your newsletter a little bit. So now that you're doing this electronically and it's from you, I think if you want to put the title, editor in, under your name, we can, but I don't think we need to announce that at the top the way we might in a print. So you have to be diplomatic when you're reverse engineering, because remember, your clients know they don't know everything too, because if they did, they wouldn't be coming to you. So you want to be gentle with each other. You want to be gentle. One thing that I just thought of that's not in the presentation, but I want to tell you about is that when you're working with clients, sometimes you have to fill in the please and thank yous because they don't always have time for them. And that can be something that can set the relationship off in a bad way. Sometimes my clients will come to me and they'll just like blurt out what they need. And what I have to think about is, you know what? Someone is breathing down their neck. They just realized they don't have a thing that they need for a meeting tomorrow, and they are now in trouble. So they're coming to me, and I might even I'll do the thing and I'll send it back, and they might not even acknowledge it because someone's breathing down their neck and they're under a deadline and they're in trouble. What I have to do is say to myself, how awesome is it that I'm here to help them? This is so great. I'm helping them. They need the help. They're paying me. I have more billable time. And then I say to myself, I feel so great that I helped them. And they've thanked me a jillion other times, but just not right now because of whatever the thing is that's going on that I have no idea. So you want to fill in the pleases and the thank yous and know that your clients are under stress as well. Now, sometimes clients are not a good fit, and that's different. When they pay you on time, they're respectful, they give you good work, you've been in a relationship for a long time, and they're in a period of they're not into the please and thank you, just insert it yourself. Just insert it yourself, okay? So back to assuming what's obvious. And so this is really illustrates what George was talking about yesterday. You know, he was looking at his print newsletter, and I've been around long enough that I worked for organizations that did print newsletters and mailed them out in the mail. So I could see where he was pulling his knowledge from. And that's how I knew, you know, how to talk to him about it, because I thought, oh yeah, this is how he did this for probably 40 years. But that's not what we're going to do now, because we're moving into a new era, right? Okay. So let's talk about delegation red flags. So when you hear these phrases, you know you need to step in and step in big, okay? So the first one is when someone says, just run with it. Whoa, okay, what does that mean? What does that mean? So if someone says that, it's going to be time to ask some questions, because when you're working with someone and they're not giving the project any thought at all, it's probably not going to end well. Now, they don't need to know how to solve it, but they at least need to understand where we're heading, like, you know, where we're trying to go. So just run with it, not so much. Here's another red flag. When you're doing part of the work or when they're doing part of the work and you're stepping in to fix or finish it. And you have to be careful there, because when I'm doing a project from top to bottom, I'm checking each piece. When someone is doing part of it and I'm stepping in, there's more room for error. And if they're not great at delegating, aka communicating, you know, that when that happens, you're going to want to slow down and make sure that you understand exactly what's happening, you know, what you're doing, what they're doing. I'm in a situation like that right now, where we're hosting a webinar for a client tomorrow, and the marketing person's handling some of it and I'm handling the rest of it. And on Friday, I realized, you know what, we're not clear. We are not clear. And so we got on a quick Zoom call and I explained what I thought was happening, and she told me what she thought was happening. We fixed it. And so tomorrow we'll have a successful event for our client. But that really has to be clear when you're on a team, because it's so easy for stuff to drop through the cracks, and I've seen it. It's never good. The other red flags are when you have no meetings and emails are flying everywhere. And it's really bad if you're on a team, meaning you have a client who has a PR person and they have another admin and they have consultants and stuff, and things are just flying through the air, because I can guarantee you people are not reading what, you know, all the information they're being given. And it's easy to miss pieces. You know, it's like, okay, this is in the email, but am I supposed to do this? Is someone else supposed to do it? So when that happens, you'll want to pull the people together if you can, or meet with your client and just, you know, talk to them. I just want to make sure I'm doing my job. I want to make sure that you get the result you want. This is what I think I'm doing. This is what I think so-and-so is doing. Can you just verify that with me? All right. So these are definitely red flags. So the really hard part about this, especially when you're getting started, I would say this was probably hard for me for at least 4 years. Is trusting myself. Because when I look back, you know, I mentioned this before, the client would be talking and they would be explaining what they want, and I wouldn't really know what it was, but I didn't want to be exposed, because I was afraid if I didn't know how to do it, that they were going to tell me that they didn't want to work with me. And if that happened, then I didn't have a client, and then I didn't have any money. And then what am I going to do? Right. So I was so focused on pleasing the client, which is important, but you can only do that if you know what they want, right? So it didn't make any sense, but so you have to trust yourself to ask questions. And we're going to talk about key questions and phrases in a minute. Now, a lot of times the clients don't know themselves. So that's why you're going to have to be really good at, taking the next question and the next question and really seeing a clear path to what you're working on. All right, so I'm just looking at my notes for a second. Okay. All right, so here are some key questions and phrases. Tone is really important. Just like you don't want to be uncovered as someone who doesn't know what's going on, neither does your client. So you really have to have a tone of that's not charged. You want to keep the charge out of it, because they might not, they might not be good at this as well. All right. So one key phrase. Let's step through how this will work. I just want to understand step by step how this, my understanding of this. So you can hear that's very neutral. And it's me, wanting to understand. And sometimes I'll even, take the bullet a little bit and I'll say, what I mean by that is I'll put the misunderstanding on me because it calms them down and then I get a better result. So it's not me really saying, I must be an idiot, I can't figure this out, but it's, I really want to make sure that I understand what you'd like me to do. I really want to be clear. And sometimes I will apologize. And I'm not a big person for saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. A lot of people lead with, I'm sorry. I don't lead with, I'm sorry. But in a case like this, especially if we're going around and around, like when I'm working with my graphics guy, I love him. And sometimes it is so clear that I must not have done a good job explaining what I need. So I'll start the conversation. I must not have been clear. This is what I meant, which is very different from what are you thinking? So you want to have that language, but I'll say, I'm sorry. I don't know why, but I'm just having trouble tracking. And to tell you the truth, most of the time it's because there's a hole and the client doesn't see it yet. And so that's why it's important to just stay with them. If there's a lot of things that they want you to do, seemingly all at once, you need to ask the question, what would you like me to focus on first? Because for a couple of reasons. One, it might be that, there's two things. One of them is more interesting to you, so you'd like to start that. Or it might be that this is more time sensitive. And that's why it's really critical to ask for deadlines. When do you need this? Okay. And sometimes you have to push back on this as well, because let's say you're setting up a webinar for someone and the client might not understand that if this is going to be a paid event and you're going to have a promo code, that you need to set up the sales page and then you need to set up the shopping cart before you can set up the promo code. So this is why you need to understand everything they're trying to accomplish so it can be done in the right order. And if the client's not sure, or I'm really sure that I know which order it needs to be accomplished in, I'll say, here's how I see it. I think we start here, then we do this, then we do this, then we do this. Is there anything that I missed? And then you listen to what they say. Okay. Sometimes clients really overthink things and complicate them beyond all rational thought. In that case, what I'll say is I'll listen to make sure I understand, and then I'll say, I have an idea of how we can streamline that. What do you think about this? Lots of craziness goes on. And so I mentioned this before, bad delegating can feel like someone is driving by your house and throwing the work out of the car window. It can also feel like popcorn popping, all over the kitchen. It can just feel like a mess. And for people who like to do work the way that we do, we tend to like things to be in order and organized, in a manageable way so that we can, so we know what's next and what to focus on. So this can feel very uncomfortable. So when you're with them on Zoom or the phone, if you're sort of meeting, virtually, but it's more in person, I want you to take notes. I want you to ask all the questions, make sure you have what you need to get started, whether that's passwords, credit cards, all the things. If you get off of the communication and you don't have them, be careful not to email, to send 20 emails to them. I need this, I need this, I need this. I need you. They're going to need you to be grounded and to think through exactly what you need and to let them know in a way that is delegating to them what you need in a way that works. You also want to be clear about costs and deadlines. The way that I think about this is I take the money away from the equation. So if a client wants me to do something and it's starting to take more time than we thought it would, I respect that my time is their money and their investment, right? So I'll say, this is, so far I've worked for 20 minutes and I have a feeling it's going to take a lot longer than we thought. I want to make sure this is something you want to invest in. So I'm not taking it personally, like I need the hours, do you want to invest in that? How does that fit with what you want to do? Because there are some things that are worth 2 hours, but they're not worth 4 hours. And because of my rate, I'm $90 or $100 an hour. But it doesn't really matter what rate you are. You're the rate that they agreed to, and you guys agreed that you're going to work 2 hours. You need to let them know, what's going on. So be really clear about that. And then when you're still with them, you also want to repeat the request back to them. And you want to write everything down, because sometimes I'll meet with someone on Tuesday and I won't do the work until Thursday. And I've had 50 jillion meetings and worked on a million things and I can't remember. So I did this yesterday. I met with a client. There were three things I was supposed to do, 2 things she was supposed to do. I wrote them in the order. I wrote down what I was waiting for her and what I was going to do and by when. And so that way it's always available when I'm ready to do the work. Email, again, you want to take a deep breath. You want to piece together the task, understand their communication style so that you can get the work done. The deep breath is critical. And just think about the fact that you're a detective, right? You are definitely a detective. Look at how it was done before. Ask to see if there's an example, if you have one. If you don't know how to do something, I want you to explore your resources. Do you know somebody that knows how to do that? Do you have a friend who's done that before? Who can you bring to the table? So Mark, I want to ask you a question. I have a couple of stories I can tell. I can tell 1 or 2, or we can go right to Q&A, but I'm aware of the time. So how would you like to proceed?
I'm fine however you want to proceed. I mean, is everybody here happy to hear those case studies? Just give a yes in the chat. Yep.
Oh, yes. Gina, several others have said yes.
Okay, cool.
Seal.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay,
Go
cool.
for it.
Yeah.
All right.
Got
I'm
a
on it.
unanimous vote.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's jump into a couple of those. I just do want to make sure we have enough time for Q&A, because believe it or not, I have to be off at 7 or a few minutes after. Okay, all right, so here is my client, David. I have this thing, I guess 70-year-old men want to work with me, which is kind of funny. But so David is, I love him. He came to me. He had done a lot of favors for me. He helps nonprofits raise money, and I was on the board of a nonprofit, and he helped us immensely for free. So when he came to me and he said, I want to do a webinar, I'm using Infusionsoft, and I need a coupon code. I said, David, you're not going to buy 10 hours. Just give me your login. Let me give you the code. And he said, no, I'm buying 10 hours. I want to work with you. I'll find other stuff. First meeting, we get together, and I realized he did not have a sales page. He did not have the cart set up. He did not have Stripe set up. He did not have anything set up at all. And he had no idea what was going on. No idea. In David's mind, he's imagining meeting up with his buddy and saying, hey, I'm doing a webinar. Here's the promo code so you can get 50% off. That's what he wanted. The rest of it, he had no idea. So that was kind of eye-opening. That was reverse delegating hitting me over the head. And that happened a while ago. I'll handle the opt-in. Okay. I was working with a client. They hired a publicist, brilliant at that, not so much at opting in. They were promoting the client's book a chapter at a time. And their idea of the opt-in was someone opts in, and then I get an email. Then I manually send an email to that person with the book chapter, and then I add them to MailChimp, and then I tag them. And I was like, what? Like, first of all, I'm not doing that. Second of all, I don't have time to do that. And so you have to really find out, what does that mean? I'll handle the opt-in. And they were serious when they told me that. I was like trying not to laugh, because I'm thinking, are you kidding me? Like, we're going to do a little Zapier here. We're going to do, like, fix this up. And so we did that. We fixed it, and they learned something, and I learned something, which is when someone who's not that technical says, I'll handle the opt-in, ask some questions. Okay, so, can you take care of registration for the webinar? This has happened a bunch of times. There's a million ways how to do that. And you want to make sure that your expectations and the clients are matched. I'm not a big fan of using Zoom to register for events, because I want the link, and I want to send a morning of, and I want, email with the link, and I want to send a reminder, and I want to be able to manage that meeting. Clients don't know how all of those things work. So they'll start a process, and before you know it, 50 people have registered, and now you have no way, you have no way to follow up that meets with how they want to handle it. So you really need to, broad strokes of, can you take care of that? You really want to ask them, what platforms they want to use, what's the expectation, okay? All right, so now I'd love to, take some questions. If you guys are up for it. And I also want to tell you about the virtual assistant connection on Facebook. I'd love to have you join me over there. But let's, all you have to do is type the virtual assistant connection on Facebook, click join, and then I will greet you wholeheartedly. But I'd love to open it up for questions.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Linda.
Great
That
job.
was really, it was a really great presentation. I think it hit home in the hearts of a lot of people here, because we've all experienced various clients and a lot of these things. And one of the things I've experienced too is clients who want to hold meetings to have a kumbaya moment and discuss a thing that shouldn't need to be discussed for an hour, when it just needs to be done. And that's one of my frustrations. And I would come away with migraines after like spending a week in meetings with things that just could be done with a single email even. So
Right.
definitely there's so much. Karen, can you put that link into the chat for the group? I don't see any
I
questions.
don't see any questions.
But I did, of
neither.
course, take my own notes. So one of my own observations is, when it comes to reverse delegation, I have like Karen and Erwin are my lead kind of almost like executives, in terms of sometimes they just have to make the decision for me, and I'm impatient like you, but sometimes I don't. Sometimes I had a habit of trying to micromanage, and then I realized I can do a lot of things that I didn't give them credit for, because I never put them in the position of trying, and they wanted me to anyway. And then I say to like Karen, just schedule the stuff on social media. If I don't check it, it goes out, and that's my fault. The same with Erwin with the emails he sent out this morning. I said, schedule it, because he actually wrote those reminders, and I've never let anybody write an email before me, my autoresponder before. So now
I'm proud of you for that, by the way.
I let go, and because they know, they've been following me for years. I mean, working with me for years and following me for years. They know me well enough. So yeah, sometimes we have to let go, but it's on me if I don't give them the instructions. But some people work differently. They need to micromanage to the point where, don't send this until I've read every single letter and every single character.
Yeah, I found that. So not so much with my Rocket Girl Solutions, my virtual assistant business. I haven't found it there as much. But with the VA connection, because we're growing so quickly, there's this really fine line that was very uncomfortable for me for a while, where I did have to let go. I needed to say, okay, here's all the Instagram posts. These are great. And then just see them on Instagram and not post them myself. And being a control freak, what I've learned is that you put safety measures in place. You make sure that you give as clear instructions as you can. And in my world, and most of my clients, honestly, no one's going to die. We just delete it and do it again, or you send a correction, or you something. And I don't like to operate from that place, but it happens. And a big part of being a successful freelancer or virtual assistant is understanding how to handle those mistakes, so you don't break the trust with the client. You say, this is what happened. This is, I can see why that happened. I've put this in place to make sure that's not going to happen again. and then reassure them over time. So, you know, it is a fine line. And I think all of these things that we're talking about tonight, and I'm sure in the whole conference, to be successful, you kind of have to turn into a different person.
Yes.
You know, you learn things, you grow, sort of expand, and it's exciting.
It is. And I think because, you know, the people you work with, and like Karen, I've known her for such a long time, I trust Karen implicitly. She would never do anything to hurt my business. And I think if anything, Karen feels a bit cheated by me for not checking all her work so often, because then she doesn't feel that she's got the feedback. And I'm sure Karen will admit that openly, but I just took, after months of her building our social media up to new heights, I gave her a lot of good feedback and a lot of, you know, things that we could do differently, but it was all good. And, you know, Karen, I'm sure, really appreciated that. So that was my bad, but, you know, I kind of neglected Karen. So yeah, I do understand it's a two-way thing.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Thanks,
It is interesting. You know, it's so much, being a successful freelancer or VA is so much more than doing the work. Like that's the easy part, you know, it's the figuring out all the rest.
Yep. I don't know if I've got any more questions. I know, what's the 7 more minutes for Belinda, because it's going to be 7 p.m. there on the East Coast, and I'm sure Belinda's stomach's rumbling and growling, and
No, you know what I'm going to go do is I have a course. It's going to launch again in January. It's called VA School. Create the business of your dreams as a virtual assistant. And twice a week, we have study halls. And so we get on Zoom like this and we meet for an hour and we do live Q&A and I teach something. And that was already on the books when when you all asked me to come here, and I wanted to do both. So I'm like back to back, and I've got the husband bringing me, you know, snacks and tea. So I'm all set, but that's what I'm heading off to do.
You have to give us a sneak peek into what we could I mean, I'm just, a lot of people, some people here don't even know you. Well, what I'm saying is that some people here who might not know you, like, sure, Kat knows you. I mean, there's a few people. So, and the people watching the recording. So, are you able to give us a bit more insight, and who would it be ideal for? And is there anything you can even put on the screen, or just verbally say, or whatever? Just give people an idea.
Yeah. So, ideal to join the community and to work with me.
I mean,
is that the question?
Yeah. I mean, the course you're rolling out.
Yeah, so I absolutely can. You know, it's for people who want to make a change in their life. They want a successful business, whether they've had, my business before this was not a wild success. It was successful in a lot of ways, but financial was not one of them, because I didn't know what I didn't know. I learned a lot about cash flow, and it was a product-based business. So, oh my gosh. But it's really for people who are ready to do the work, to step into it, to step into really, you know, this is a kind of a funny phrase, but they're big girl panties. You know, I'm uncomfortable. I don't know what to do.
Yep.
I want someone to teach me. I want someone to take me by the hand. I want someone who has what I want, and I can see that. And they're ready to jump in and be coached, and try new things, because of the, you know, the way they had done it in the past. It wasn't working. And I've certainly been that person. I had a lot of help starting my business by working with people who had successful freelance businesses themselves. And I translated it into being a VA. So that's really it. And a lot of them are here. So Friederike is here, and I saw Karen Zachary is here, and Kate. They're just women who, they want to step into themselves and they want to create revenue. You know, some of them want to create vacation money. Some of them want to homeschool their kids. Some of them have a parent who they're taking care of, but they want to help people. They want to make a difference, and they want to be successful doing what they love. That's who they are.
Oh, and this is like accountability as well, right? Sorry, Marie, accountability. So yeah, sorry, Marie, go on.
No, I was just agreeing with her. That was just brilliant. So,
I was just going to say, getting on Zoom, like, is it twice a month? You said it's very powerful.
Twice a week. Twice a week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's really high touch. I didn't start the VA Connection for a long time because I saw how a lot of people were doing it differently than I wanted. And I had to find out that it was okay to do it my way, just like all of us do. So what VA School is it's self-paced. There's over 70 videos on how to onboard a client, how to fire a client, how to nail a discovery call, you know, all the things you need to know, how to raise your prices, and every template that I use to run my own business. I don't know how many there are, but a bunch. So revenue trackers and cash flow and, things. And I'm married to an accountant, so he helped me really nail those. And then in addition to that, that's self-paced. For 6 months, there are 2 Zoom calls a week. One is in the evening for the people in one part of the world or people who have jobs. And then the other is in the afternoon on Thursdays. And the format is we do a quick win so people get to know each other. And then I teach something for about 10 minutes. I bring a topic and then we do Q&A until the end. There's a private Facebook group and everybody becomes friends. Like you could, if I read this chat, you're going to see they're talking to each other. And that's how it goes. They become friends, they help each other, they build websites together, and it's a really supportive community. So it's called VA School and doors are opening in January. And then in addition to that, I have a community that I was inviting you to join it's called the Virtual Assistant Connection. And it's just a lot of fun. The only other piece I noticed Karen put in, your Karen, not my Karen, put into the chat was that in January, the whole thing is going to be kicked off with a 5-day training. It's called the VA Client Kickstart Challenge on how to get a steady stream of clients doing exactly what I do. And then during that time, doors will open to VA School for people who want to take the next step.
So basically, if people want to get on your mailing list who are not already on your mailing list, like people watching the replays, or people from the other, like Cindy Badar and Justin Popovic, sort of push some people towards this as well. Do they sign up to that quick starter and then they'll get to keep on the list of whether, when the doors open, so they can finally see if this is a fit for them, right?
So there's a couple ways to get on the list, and we do a weekly newsletter that has tips on being a virtual assistant. And I have 2 live shows that are streamed into the group each week. So there's a ton of information. One way is to join the Facebook group. And when you're asked the question, I want to send you a free gift, put your email address in there, and then you'll be added to the list. The other is you can sign up for the challenge, but I don't want you to miss when the challenge starts. So if people go to thevaconnection.com, thevaconnection.com, and right at the top of the page, you'll see you can opt into the newsletter. Just jump right in there and you won't miss a thing.
Oh, thank you, Karen. Oh, that's a direct message. Hang on. I'm just going to pop it in here. Well, thank you so much. Oh, they're all so quick.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
We
This has
appreciate
been
it.
fun.
We really do.
It's been a real pleasure. Thank you for being here. It's good to get to know you. And
Yeah.
definitely send me that canning stuff and we'll have to talk about your podcast.
Okay.
and
Okay.
things
I'm
from
going to do my secret weapon. I'm going to write it on a Post-it. Okay. And then I'll find it.
We love Post-its in this group,
We
don't we?
do.
We'll follow up for sure and make sure, we've got all the things you need from us and we need from you,
Okay,
Yep.
We'll let
good.
you
And
know.
definitely pickled jalapeno peppers.
Oh yeah.
Thanks,
My
Belinda.
husband would love you for that. All right. You guys have
Thank
a great
you.
one.
Thank
Enjoy
you all.
enjoy
Thanks,
the season.
Karen. Thank you.
Bye,
Yeah.
It's gonna
Belinda.
help.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So awesome.
Wow, that's.
Now, Mark,
I'll tell you what, it's.
can you believe it's the end of day 2 already?
Well, not for me. It's the start of day 3. But yeah, it's been a great lineup so far, and every speaker has gone above and beyond what I've expected. I mean, I expected good stuff, but not excellent stuff. So, and every single speaker has been excellent. I shouldn't say that, but they've been above excellent. You know what I'm saying? Like 11 out of 10,
Right.
every speaker. So,
Yep.
I think
If you didn't take something away, that's your fault, right?
yeah, I mean, there's
Yeah.
We
about.
did have a question in the chat, but I didn't get it till now.
I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
from Kat.
That's okay. What
she
we'll
never
do
looked.
is
Hang on, Marie. Kat, she didn't have a lot of time for questions, so I'm going to
right.
see if Belinda can maybe. Kat, if you want to join Belinda's group, I will see if we can post that into Belinda's group. Yeah, see you later, Frederick. Thank you so much for joining us. Is Kat still
Thank you,
here?
Frederick.
Oh no, Kat's gone.
I think she's already gone.
I will
But then-
post that into the group, and maybe Belinda will see it.
She must have posted it after I had looked, because when I looked, there was nothing in there.
Yeah,
So that
That's
was my
okay.
bad.
we're all good. So thank you, guys. End of day 2. I'm not
I'm
going to. Stick around
I'm
too
gonna
long.
stop the recording.
Marie's got to go for dinner. Karen's got to go for dinner. So I hope you're all fine. If we just let me stop my recording.
Karen ate dinner. Karen's going to sleep.
Gina,
Really?
anyone else who's recording, if they can stop their recording, that'd be great.
I'm trying to find out how to stop it. I'm kind of getting. Oh, I don't know why I'm having.
Should